Yeah, I'm going to pause there for just a moment just so you can see how good it's doing. All the little fuzzies are off of the edges there. All the splinters are off the edge. Don't want to over sand it, and when you're going over these sharp points, be very, very careful that you don't break any of them off. But it looks great. All that fuzziness has disappeared. The other thing that's disappeared is all the pencil lines. Here's a little bit right here left. There's a lot of pencil line there. All that's going to disappear once I sand it. I want to take some 150 sandpaper, fairly rough, and I just want to go around the inside of these letters and all the cutout areas, just to get the roughness out of the bottom of the letters. Not all of it, doesn't have to be silky smooth, but usually you don't want any kind of little pieces of wood fur sticking out there. Now, one thing that this does is this edge right here is extremely sharp, and that's good to have nice sharp edges, but perfectly sharp edges don't feel good in people's hands. So as I'm cleaning out the inside of these letters, I'm letting it rub a little bit of the sharpness off the edges. And this heart is right in the center of the picture, and it's also a big open space. If there's a little roughness in the bottom of these letters, nobody's going to see that. But the big open space inside the heart, you want to get that just as smooth and nice and pretty as you can. Okay. Now we'll go down these other letters. And of course, I've got to be careful, like I said, around all these sharp points because they are fragile. And all I've done here is I folded the sandpaper over several times. It's an old piece of sandpaper. Doesn't have a whole lot of tooth left to it. And that's what you want in this situation because you don't really want to move much wood. Sometimes you'll see a little spot that you didn't do so well with on a router, and you can fix it. Again, this top of this end right here where I'm working is pretty open, so you want to spend a little bit more time there. That's something people are going to see down inside. But this narrow groove, nobody's going to see what's down inside there. Those narrow grooves are going to drive you crazy when you're painting it too. I guarantee it. Okay. Yeah, that feels good now. The orbital sander, the palm sander, makes this kind of motion like that. And what I really want is to hide all the scratches, because when I put the lacquer on, all the scratches will just show up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 220 paper. This is 150, which is medium grit. Take this 220 paper and I'm going to wrap it around this little wooden block. Like that. Give me something flat to work with. And I'm going to go across this so that all my strokes are running the same direction as the grain. Until I don't see any marks left in the wood. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray this all the way around and make sure that it's wet everywhere, but not get enough on it that it starts to run. So I got my paint shaken up, and then I want to make sure I get the paint down inside all these little grooves in here of the letters, and especially on the edges. Look at that color change. Isn't that beautiful? So I'll walk all the way around this thing. Make sure I get the edges all the way around. I'm going to come back and do the bottom after this is finished. I just want to get the whole surface wet. Okay, next day now. And I've put lacquer finish on both the front and the back. And before I did that, of course, I had sanded everything nice and smooth. Now, it's rough as it can be. Because what happens is when you put the finish on, it raises all the wood fibers up, and so it becomes very rough. But not to worry, because once you sand it again, it's going to be very smooth, and then you can put another coat on, and it'd be just like glass. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to take the 220 sandpaper, and again we're going to run it just lightly. Because you're not trying to take off the finish. You're just not trying to knock out all those little wood fibers that are standing up. Make it nice and smooth. And again, I'm sanding in the same direction as the grain. That way if I create any roughness, with any scratches with the sandpaper, it runs in the same direction as the grain. It won't be seen. I'm going to do it on all the surfaces because when people handle things, they judge not only by what they see with their eyes, but also what they feel with their hands. And check it every once in a while. Just feel for any rough spots, like the inside of that heart there. Needs a little bit of work. So now I'll take my 220 sandpaper, which I've been using, fold it up, and do a little quick sanding inside the big letters, the big open parts of the letters. There's always a temptation to only finish the front side, because that's what people see. But if you don't finish the back side, first of all, it looks unfinished, but secondly, the back side will absorb moisture more than the front side will, because the front side is sealed. And what it'll do is it'll cause the wood fibers to swell on the back side, and it'll cause the board to cup this way. So you want to finish both sides the same. It also looks great.